28 people have died while skydiving in the past 30 years, and don't get me wrong, I'm not talking about global statistics here, or that of an entire country. That's the number of tragic incidents that have occurred in just one place. The Skydive Lodi Parachute Center in California. When the Sacramento Bee exposed these numbers, it sparked intense debates. Some blame the center for the deaths, while others argue that the death rate is quite typical for the sport. To figure out who's really at fault, I'll tell you about the most infamous tragic cases at the Lodi Center. But just a heads up, as always, viewer discretion is advised. $150, that's the price of a skydive at Lodi, one of the lowest in the US. Visitors can jump from almost 4,000 meters. This center is very popular in the States, yet globally notorious for its number of fatalities. There's no official data on skydiving incidents since no center is required to report them. However, Jim Crouch from the United States Parachute Association said he can't recall any other large skydiving center with this many deaths. The statistics show that in 2010 alone, 10% of all skydiving fatalities worldwide happened precisely at the Lodi Parachute Center. But when asked what changes he made after these accidents, owner Bill Dawes replied with, nothing. According to him, each accident was different, and skydiving is risky anyway. Some incidents at the center indeed support the owner's view. That fateful year of 2010, 28-year-old James Martin O'Connor visited Lodi. James was experienced, so he jumped solo without an instructor. Witnesses remember seeing James stepping out of the plane without even trying to open his main or reserve parachute. Unfortunately, the jump ended lethally. It turned out that just days before the accident, James had been discharged from a psychiatric hospital. All signs pointed to James intentionally ending his life. But can the center be held responsible for that? It's not like they can conduct a psychological evaluation with every customer. It's also hard to blame the center for the death of young Devin Whitaker in 1992. In midair, both his main and reserve parachutes got tangled, leading to his fatal fall. While most centers don't allow minors to jump, Lodi permits 16-year-olds to jump with parental consent. Devin's mother had signed the waiver allowing him to jump, releasing the center from any potential blame. Now, here's the twist. Devin was only 15. The staff insisted he looked older, and besides, he'd already completed 10 successful jumps. Still, I can't help but wonder when he managed those jumps and how old he was during the first one. The biggest question is whether they all took place at the same center. Regardless, the document signed by his mother absolves the Lodi Parachute Center of any liability. Plus, parachutes can tangle if the reserve is deployed prematurely, something Devin might have done in a panic. Even strong winds could cause it. However, the next story is even more complicated. 57-year-old Sabrina Call was a seasoned skydiver with over 2,100 jumps under her belt. Yet on April 17, 2021, she faced the same fate as Devin at the Lodi Center. Both her parachutes tangled, failing to inflate properly, leading to her tragic death. If even a pro couldn't handle this, the parachutes might have been improperly packed, or the deployment mechanism malfunctioned. Unfortunately, I couldn't find more details or a thorough investigation into this case. But with each news story, it's getting harder to justify the center. The guy in this video is Tyler Turner.
My name is Tyler Turner. I am gonna jump out of a plane. A little bit scary. When I get up there, it's gonna be like, oh gosh, adrenaline's gonna kick in. Just gonna let it happen.
In 2016, the 18-year-old and two of his best friends wanted to celebrate their high school graduation with their first ever skydive before starting college at UC Merced together in the fall. Tyler's mother, Francine Turner, accompanied them to the Lodi Parachute Center. Tyler was born with cerebral palsy, but it never stopped him from living life to the fullest, and his loved ones always supported him. However, Francine felt uneasy when the boys were shown a safety video while simultaneously signing the liability waiver, making it hard for them to focus. On top of that, they were taken to try on harnesses before the video even finished. Everything seemed rushed. Before boarding the plane, Tyler knelt and prayed, then turned and hugged his mom tightly. Little did she know this would be the last time she would see her son alive. Tyler jumped in tandem with 25-year-old instructor Yong Kwon, who had moved from South Korea 2 months earlier and spoke very little English. Despite this, he had an impressive record with 700 jumps under his belt. Minutes later, Francine saw her son's friends returning from the drop zone with somber expressions and without Tyler among them. The video footage shows Tyler's and Quan's main and reserve parachutes tangled, preventing either from opening. Both of them fell to their deaths. Tangled parachutes weren't the only cause of this fatal incident. It was discovered that the instructor paired with Turner wasn't properly certified and, therefore, didn't have the skills to respond quickly in such emergencies. To make matters worse, he had lied about his experience. After Tyler's death, the center was ordered to pay the Turner family $40 million, yet the facility didn't correct its mistakes. In May 2024, 8 years after the incident, Robert Pooley, who trained instructors at the Lodi Parachute Center, was charged with forging signatures on certification documents. Robert made himself a fake new certification after his old one expired and forged United States Parachute Association ratings for his students, which regulate skydiving, and United Parachute Technologies, which sets safety standards and certifies instructors. This way, Robert tried to make himself look more important and create the impression that his students could receive legitimate ratings from his courses. He even charged a hefty $1,100 for the course. By the way, Robert trained and certified Yong Quan, who died alongside Tyler Turner. During Pooley's arrest, center owner Bill Doss defended his reputation, claiming the accusations were false. The investigation is ongoing, and it's hard to say if that's true. However, there are suspicions that the center has issues with its instructors and equipment. On September 19, 2019, a traffic jam formed on Frontage Road 99 near the Lodi Parachute Center. Like other drivers, Rich Edwards got out of his car to see what had caused the stoppage. There, on the asphalt near a truck with a trailer, lay the body of a dead woman tangled in a parachute. Her name was Maria Robledo Vallejo. That day, the 28-year-old Colombian was skydiving in a group of 6. Usually, at Lodi, skydivers fly over the highway but land back on the grassy area. However, the wind carried Maria away from the center's safe landing zone and into the flow of cars on the highway. One witness said he saw a wind gust catch her right after she jumped from the plane. Her body moved rapidly, and it was clear she was desperately fighting against the wind, yet she couldn't save herself. Children who were in cars on the highway with their parents witnessed the incident. Rick Costa, who regularly drives a truck loaded with vehicles on this highway for work, constantly sees skydivers flying over the road. He believes the company chose a dangerously unsuitable location for its business, and it was only a matter of time before one of its clients landed on a vehicle. Moreover, Rick is concerned that this might not be the last death due to this reason. Yet owner Bill Doss remains confident that the center is not at fault. He claims that on that day, the wind gusts were around 27 kilometers per hour, a permissible speed for Vallejo's skill level. Dawes also pointed out that visitors have successfully made jumps even in stronger winds. Maria was an experienced skydiver, having completed over 150 jumps before, and the parachute was in good condition. However, was the center's equipment reliable? George Post was in despair, so he called his brother John. A dedicated skydiver, George hadn't pursued his favorite sport for 3 years, but he finally decided to return to it. He was worried he might have lost his skills, so he wanted to use his own parachute, one he was familiar with and trusted. However, owner Bill Doss considered it dangerous, as George's parachute was old, so he allowed him to use only the center's equipment. Bill assured him that their parachutes were practically the same as George's, so George was even more confused. If they were basically identical, why couldn't he jump with his own? His brother John disapproved of this risky venture, but George missed skydiving too much. In the end, when George was already in the air, he apparently couldn't reach the cord for the main parachute and didn't manage to deploy the reserve. He lost his life. This was a tremendous shock for his brother John, who blamed the center's owner for the accident. John believed that Doss should have forbidden his brother from jumping, knowing how long his break from skydiving had been. John said that if his brother was allowed to jump, he should have been provided with a safety system where the parachute opens automatically once the person jumps from the plane. However, the likelihood of a parachute not opening is much lower than you might think. For example, in 2021, only 1 in 721 skydivers had to use a reserve parachute during a jump. So it's strange that the Lodi Center has had so many accidents due to unopened or tangled parachutes. The center's owner, on the other hand, suggests that Post may have turned off the automatic activation device for the reserve parachute, which could have saved his life. Some experienced jumpers disable this device because they don't trust it, so there's no fault of the center here. These stories raise suspicion, but I've seriously pondered the words the center's owner says in his defense. Bill Dawes himself is one of the most experienced skydivers in the country, with 21,000 jumps to his name. When asked why he doesn't shut down the center, he compares his work to a football match. He says that when an injured player is taken off the field, the stadium isn't closed. The spectators aren't sent home, and the team doesn't stop playing. In his opinion, accidents during skydiving are just a part of the sport. Yes, it's very dangerous, and anything can happen in the air. So if you're not ready for that, then don't jump. Actually, the high number of incidents can be explained by the popularity of the Lodi Center. The more jumps there are, the greater the likelihood that something will go wrong for some of the visitors. Besides, statistics show that most skydiving accidents result from simple human error. Dawes claims he can't be held responsible for the skydiver's mistakes. Bill says that even in the safest car with the best training, the driver can press the gas instead of the brake. The fact that Bill Dawes is a very skilled and eloquent skydiver is undeniable. But does that justify him as the owner of a skydiving business? I'm not sure. Either way, the Parachute Center continues to operate, despite the Employment Development Department of California fining Dawes $2.3 million, which he hasn't paid, along with several other fines. I won't ask you to decide who's responsible for all these deaths, the center and its owner, or just bad luck. Instead, I invite you to share whether you'd be willing to visit the Extreme Sports Center in Lodi. Also, subscribe to my channel. We often discuss the risks of various extreme sports here. I do recommend watching my videos before you decide to do something crazy.